It would help if I unmuted me mic. What's it like working with professionals, eh? Right, so I'll start again. Welcome back, everyone, for the second time today. We are live. I have two very special guests this evening. The first of which some of you will be familiar with because he's been on this show before. He is the wonderful Momus Najmi. Momus, good evening. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Thank you.
Lovely to hear from you, mate. And our second guest is a debutant on the show. It is Richard Thomson from Advance UK. Richard, good evening. How are you?
Hello, Paul. Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. I'm good, thank you.
Well, if there's any doubt that he was working with a complete and utter amateur, the star of the show is the proof. It's the proof. We were talking about audio before we went live, and there you go. I have mine muted. Good evening, everyone. So tonight it's all about the wonderful Advance UK, if you hadn't already guessed. And well, first of all, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're waiting for people. We've got just under 500 people already watching, but we're going to give it a few seconds just to let the room populate. In the meantime, most of my guests will have seen you before, but for those that haven't, just give yourself a brief introduction so they know who they're listening to.
All right. So for those who don't know me, I'm a writer, commentator, and I have a podcast, the World of Momus podcast. I have a Substack where I'm more active, actually, the worldofmomus.com. I'm an ex-Muslim. I left Islam 18 years ago, and I write about a lot of social issues, including Islam as well, like as an ideological issue about politics and, whatever is going on. So that's me. And politically, I have joined Advance UK recently. And as I was telling Paul, my position is the official mischief maker for now.
I like the sound of that. I always like a mischief maker. Richard, good evening to you, my friend. A very warm welcome to the show. Tell us a bit about your background, because it's a very interesting one.
Yeah, well, I think Momus has sounded very interesting. So
more mysterious, I'd say.
Definitely. But for myself, I suppose I started my professional career in the Royal Marines. I often say, because there's normally people that sort of know this person, but I say that when I actually passed training, the troop I passed training there was a certain person that may stand for London Mayor in the same troop as that as well. So Ant Middleton. I'm yet to track him down and tell him, because I'm sure he won't remember me. I was only in the troop for a few weeks, but he may in fact know a lot of people that I know.
Yeah.
But I was in the Royal Marines.
Service, by the way.
Oh no, yeah, thank you. I was in the Royal Marines for about 8 years, a couple of tours of Afghanistan, a few deployments to Norway, which was very fun. And then after that, I had sort of weaned myself off of military service, and I did a bit of maritime security. So on board ships and vessels in around the sort of Indian Ocean and Persian Gulf and things like that, to deter pirates from boarding merchant vessels.
I was going to say, the posh way of telling us that you were taking pot shots at pirates.
Well, obviously not quite taking pot shots at pirates, but the idea was to just deter them from really getting on. It's like Captain. Have you ever seen the film Captain Phillips?
Yeah.
It's to stop that from happening, really. But eventually, I sort of grew up and got a proper job, and now I work in sort of like software in the city. It's all very boring. It's not a mischief maker. I wish I could call myself that, but no. So that's me. I was always been politically interested, I would say, but really sort of over the last few years, I think like a lot of people have had a bit of a awakening in terms of wanting to be politically active, fed up with the state of the country, fed up with watching what it means to be British essentially be repackaged. So I got involved. I'm here in Essex, in Braintree. I stood for a former party of reform, in the general election, and subsequently left reform, which we can talk about the reasons why and things like that, and then find myself still with the same political philosophy. So naturally, part of Advance UK.
So we'll start there, I think, Richard, if you don't mind. We'll start with how you became politically active or more politically aware. What was the turning point for you? Was there anything in particular that made you suddenly think, hold on, I've got to wake up here?
It was a number of things, I think, but most prominently was the COVID lockdowns. I thought it was a really slippery slope to start telling people that the entire country needed a lockdown. We were going to freeze the economy. That you had the situation where neighbours were essentially incentivized to dob other neighbours in if they were going to the shop more than once a day or something. Karen's taken an extra set of toilet rolls or something, and you just think, what kind of world are we living in? What kind of country are we living in? And it's just, the warning signs were there, and then I started paying more attention to it. And it was just so draconian, so unnecessary in my view with how things were handled then. But there was a bunch of other stuff as well that you could argue was I suppose brought me on to wanting to take a stand. It was one thing about arguing at the telly. There's another thing, sort of knocking on doors, trying to talk to people and listen to their concerns.
So how did you and Momus get to meet each other?
I had the pleasure of being on his podcast, actually, The World of Momus. I think that we have a mutual friend that had sort of given my details over to him. So we sat down one evening and spoke and did a session, and then Momus was deciding to come to the launch in Newcastle at Advance UK. So my arm twisted into giving him a lift up to Newcastle, where we spent a good 5 hours in the car.
Yeah, 5-6 hours. Yeah. He almost got me killed as well because of his reckless driving.
Momus, just jump in whenever you want, my friend. Go for it.
No, it was
just a bit of an exaggeration there, I think.
It would have been dangerous. I think so. We were both very tired, driving for so long. But I think so. Like the episode is actually live up on my podcast if people want to watch it. It's sort of like I asked him who he was and stuff, and all his stuff like really interested me. Like he came across as a very genuine person, so I just wanted to know him more, and that gave us an opportunity to actually get to know each other more. And it just seemed like we've got together since then multiple times as well. It's just because when I started talking to him, it just felt like I've known him for a very long time. I think so. That's how we hit it off so soon. And then we decided, okay, we both live in Essex. We kind of love Essex. We have to do something locally. And that's how we decided, okay, let's come up with some campaign or something. And we're starting a campaign. It's called Kingdom of Essex. And it's Essex focused, but obviously it's Essex and beyond as well. Yeah. And we are thinking of starting a Substack or something together. And we'll do live streams and stuff covering, news of Essex, what's going on in Essex, the other candidates of Essex as well for advance, because there will be 18 candidates altogether. So we want to help other candidates as well have proper Essex MPs local to Essex who understand our issues, our problems, because there's many things that are happening over there. So we sort of got together and had an understanding. We didn't have to convince each other about these things. I think that's how we got along really well and got to know each other even more.
I get the feeling that Essex could hold the key to a lot of things. We've got the Pink Ladies that very active down there, or over there, I should say. Well, we'll get on to that a little bit more in depth, what you got planned or what you're hoping to do a little bit later. But Richard, first of all, tell me what made you leave Reform? How did your relationship with Reform come to an end, and why was that?
Good. So after the general election sort of happened, I wasn't sure, where to go at that point. I just started writing. I sort of found my sort of niche, I suppose, my voice as an activist to talk about certain things. Generally, it's when something happens that the Conservatives, Labour, whoever has done something wrong. It's my outlet to blow off steam, write something down, and predominantly the Express. There's other publications as well, but predominantly the Express sort of pick it up and generally publish it. I think there'd been a few people from HQ at Reform had asked me and a few others to start the branch within Braintree where I stood. So I at that point I said, yeah, okay, right, I can stay on, I can do that, until I was deciding, how much I was going to be involved. But as I was writing, I'd done about sort of 20 to 30 articles at this point. And I'd done a fair amount. Some of them have been being shared by, the deputy leader and the now chairman and people. So they were aware that I was doing that. I wasn't aware at the time that, essentially Reform, they don't like their branch officers and people. And I don't know who knows this. I always get criticised for criticising Reform, but they don't like people to have a political voice. They don't want that. They kind of want people to, fundraise and distribute leaflets and say nothing, essentially. And one of the articles that I wrote was, it mentioned Ben Habib in it. Ben had just started the Great British Pact, which is quite impactful thing for British politics. It was a very neutral, factual piece that just announced really that there was going to be an outlet for people to be able to use their policy platform to look at how that's going to reshape certain things potentially and stuff like that. And all of a sudden that was a shock, and the HQ phoned me up and says, like, they stopped all of my access to everything immediately, and they said, you gave a press release. And I said, well, what press release have I given? And they said, oh, you said this about one of our detractors. And I said, well, tell me which one. I've done about 30 at this point, and then they've been shared. You're aware that I'm doing them. And essentially, it came out that the detractor that they were talking about was in fact, Ben. And literally, I just mentioned his name. So I, was then suspended. And after about after that Rupert Lowe incident happened about 2 weeks after it. So I was ahead of the curve essentially for purging. After that, they did ask me to come back, and of course I respectfully declined and said no, thank you. I wasn't about to sign NDAs, and I just found my voice with things, and I didn't think it was right the way that they had treated myself and a lot of other branch chairs within Essex itself as well, that I know of. And I just, I couldn't really be part of that. And I just sort of thought to myself that if we're expecting change, then really having the same sort of toxic, way of doing things needs to change as well. Otherwise, I'm just going to be more involved, have less. I mean, I've got family, I've got, lovely wife and kids, a job, and things like that. I don't need to be involved. So for me to be involved with Reform would just be there to hopefully cling on and say the right things and be a Nigel sycophant and hope that I get a seat. Well, that would be great, but not at the expense of my principles and morals. I think that's very important, that if we want to heal as a country, we want to do better, then we need to be aiming higher. We don't, we need to be doing things differently. So yeah, that was my, end of working with Reform. But in that time, and like I say, we want to be very active in Essex. I got to meet tons of people, not just within Braintree, but tons of people, all across Essex. In fact, all across the country, really, as I went to different places for different events for Reform or to campaign or anything like that. And there's so many people out there that are really genuinely care. This means an awful lot. I mean, we just look at, I've got flag here that I've dragged in from outside to sort of have a bit of a more interesting background. But you see how people are putting things up, and they're raised. They care deeply about the country, and we're seeing this movement really take hold because people are patriotic. They do care. So I think at the moment the only outlet for that, until Advance passes the Electoral Commission and it gets its name out there more, things like that, we will see a big increase. Because people really do need that change. But yeah, so got off topic a bit, but that was essentially my involvement, why I left Reform.
And obviously happy to join Ben. I mean, most in stark contrast to the story that Richard's just told us there. I had a brief backwards and forwards with Ben earlier on just to double check that, he was all happy about what we was going to do tonight. And he said, Paul, crack on. There's no questions, no concerns. He knows who's coming on. He gave Richard a glowing report, and here we are. This is the people's party, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because Reform, we have all had concerns about Reform. We were hoping they would be the answer to the, to our problems and stuff, but they are just acting like, Labour would, like just silencing people, having them sign NDAs and stuff. That's not what we want. Advanced UK is doing the things that, that how we would want them to do. Like they are actually about pro free speech. Yeah, they're not inciting violence and stuff.
Yeah.
Who wants to do that? But people should be allowed to think their mind. It's enough. Like we have had enough of people like trying to self-censor and stuff like that. No, the problems that we have right now, we have to be honest, and we have to be able to speak, and we have to find solutions through it. We should also be allowed to make mistakes while we're speaking as well, because that's how we're going to learn and grow from it. Right? We can't be caged anymore, because our opponents, they surely are not caged. They can say whatever they want, and they don't have the state coming after them. They are allowed to do that, right? We have the Labour candidates and stuff coming on, calling for the death of people even, but they're cleared of any of their wrongdoings, right? So we need a party that will support people and let us speak openly about issues.
Is it the People's Party or isn't it? I mean, look, there's one or two reform supporters in the chat. And by the way, guys, if anybody's got any questions for Richard or Momus, please pop them in the chat. And, this is your show more than it is mine. So it's important that you get to ask the questions. But the bottom line is this, is that I think, I don't know about you, Momus. I don't know where you was on the last election, but certainly, obviously, Richard was with reform. I was campaigning for reform. The bottom line is to those reform supporters in the chat, if they hadn't have let us down so badly, if we hadn't have seen things that we didn't want to see, do you not think that we'd still be there? Wouldn't Ben Habib still be there? Wouldn't Rupert Lowe still be there? The list goes on and on and on. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of grassroots reformers who have left the party to join Advance, and they've done that for a very, very for their own reasons, but all for very good reasons. And it gives you an idea, it gives you a clue that things aren't what you might think they are. That's my personal belief on it. So, guys, going back to Essex, Momus, we'll start with you on this one. Give us a bit of a brief on what you guys have got planned. Because I think it's very, very important that, I tell you now, my two regions that I think could lead this fight back, Essex or Newcastle. And I can't quite make my mind up which one it is, but I think it's going to be Essex.
Yeah, I think so. Like if you look at Essex is like really interestingly positioned, because we are at the vanguard. We are at that point holding off London, even though London is creeping in all the time, right? So, but London politics is holding on, and right now, I think so. You would find the highest vote for mass deportations and stuff that would come from Essex, because people over here sort of understand what's going on. It's all London people as well who've come into Essex. They've seen it, and that's why they have like sort of come over here. So they sort of know the score, right? And we have had like, you imagine like this is a county right next to London. Still, it's a stronghold for conservatives for so long. So that kind of tells you the mentality of the people over here, that regardless of the fact that they are close to a metropolitan city, and you would expect them also to have the similar views of the metropolis, but they don't. They're actually more conservative, but they're actually conservative. They don't just vote for Tory party. And that's what we are finding out, that historically they've always voted for just Tory party, but they actually want some change. They can see what's going on. The house prices over here have gone berserk. People cannot afford anything, and then we see illegal migrants being housed over there. 3 days ago, I found out that there's actually an HMO filled with 98 rooms, 1 or 2 bedroom rooms, apartments, freshly built. It's new build HMO in town center in Chelmsford. Nobody knows about this. Nobody has been consulted about this, filled with illegal immigrants, right? So, and that's right next to the cathedral and right next to the Crown Court, right? So what is actually going on? Richard will tell you even more examples of what's happening around Braintree and stuff, where they've been filtering in all these illegals without the consent of the people over there. So they have been sneaking these things in, and for years and years as well, London has been shifting their housing market, like their social housing in Essex, right? And that's also against the will of the people. So what we're trying to do is like we're trying to voice the Essex opinions a bit more, help the candidates who are in Essex and create a network with them, so that people actually, because we're not gonna get any prime time on any of the mainstream channels, obviously,
Yeah.
because we're going to be labeled, I'm going to be labeled, everyone is going to be labeled as far right, bigot, thugs, or whatever, Richard might look like a thug, but I don't. But but like they are trying to they will try to do that, so they won't have a voice. So what we're trying to do is create a platform. It's called Kingdom of Essex, going back to the kingdom of actual Essex. We have a logo, we have an emblem for it, and we are thinking of starting as a Substack, so we can write like articles over there. We will promote the history of Essex. We'll do some travel sort of blogs as well over there. We'll go to places in Essex, highlight the history over there, and we'll write pieces of that sort. We'll try to do some live stream as well from Substack, because you can do live stream from Substack as well. So it's very interesting. You can call in other people, you can promote the other 17, apart from Richard, other 17 candidates who are going to stand in Essex, people like Sarah as well. We can have, like, we can create this network and sort of try to help each other, because we need strong candidates who are from Essex, who live in Essex, right, and who understand the problems over here, because we have very different problems over here. We don't have the same problems as other counties. Our county is not connected by public transport properly as well.
Yeah.
All throughout the south and the north is very disconnected from each other. West as well, more connected to the London than to the rest of Essex. So it creates a geographical issue where people, like within the by the dengue, in the dengue area, those people can be isolated. Their problems are isolated. People don't even know what issues they have over there, right? So because they're of no concern to anyone. So Tories have been standing in Essex for so long, and they have been just ignoring, they've just been taking Essex for granted. And if you just think about this, right, the leader of the Tory party has a seat from this county. The leader of the Reform Party, Nigel Farage, has a seat from this county. Have any of them ever spoken about any Essex issues? Right? All this crap is still happening in Essex, right?
Yeah.
All the things that Farage talks about, oh, the illegal boats, blah blah blah. He's going over there making a whole scene. Has he ever talked about the issues of these HMOs? All of these problems, like he might have talked about it, but has he said it in Parliament? I'm not talking about like going on media and doing a clown show over there. But I'm actually saying, in Parliament, has he raised this issue? Is he even there standing for the issues in Clacton? Is he?
Well, they're
talking
getting
about
worse. They're getting
They're
worse.
getting so much worse. So we want to do that. We want to create that platform where we speak for Essex, where we highlight the history of Essex, tell people like this is not a dump or anything. This is actually a beautiful county, a very geographical county. It has a huge history. Colchester is the oldest town in the first town of England as well. Like, there's huge history in this county. So that's basically what we want to do.
Guys, do you think Nigel Farage has underestimated the people of Clacton? Because I tell you now, from the feedback I'm getting from the people down there or over there, they are not very happy at all.
He's underestimated the people of England, I think.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that as well. I mean, to be honest with you, he's never in Clacton, and also he's never in Parliament. And he's quite open by saying, well, Parliament doesn't work for me. I don't get a lot done there. So, but he's the representative of the people there. If he is not able to make enough noise to advocate on their behalf, then, that's not, he's focused on, becoming more establishment in order to increase the brand, and left them voiceless, completely voiceless. And the reason that he got in with such a massive majority there was for those reasons, to champion those reasons. Clacton isn't far away from from where I am, and I obviously know the issues that are here. We've got Wethersfield Air Base. At the time of the general election, that had about 700-800 of the illegal immigrants that were housed there. Now it's got about 1,200. It's increased past the size of the village that it neighbours. And I was speaking to loads of people there that live there that have been attacked by people that live in HMOs around Braintree as well. They come out running out with swords and things, attacking their door. That chap gets arrested, and then 48 hours later, he's dropped back in the same house, living next to the same family. You know, so all of these issues, he's been, you know, getting the emails. He'd have been getting all of the issues that come to him.
Definitely.
So, you know, he has got a responsibility to do that, which is why you're seeing the support for him fall so much in Clacton, because he's not doing that. You know, that's a big reason that he got elected, was because he was going to be at that time what people thought, and what still people think now, is that they're going to be the party that can really sort of, you know, start making the noise and start getting the action that people want to see. But they're not seeing it.
And I've been
and there's things he can do.
Yeah, I've been talking to some people as well before the elections, because I was living in Malden at that time, and you know, people wanted to vote for reform. Not a single person from reform came knocking on our doors. Not a single person campaigned for reform. Right? Still, they do not care. They do not care. They brought in a candidate who didn't live in Malden, who had no idea about Malden. I think so. She was living in Clacton or somewhere else, or wherever she was living, but she was not from Malden. She had no idea, right, about the people of Malden. Obviously, they didn't win. Still, the Tory MP won. But now people are thinking like, what the hell is happening to reform? Everyone is talking about it. No one is happy about it. There's a lot of support for Tommy Robinson over here in Essex as well, and how he's been dealt with reform. People are disgusted by them for obvious reasons, right? And if anyone is thinking that in next year local elections, we're gonna vote reform in Essex because we're going through devolution, so we didn't have a local elections this year. We're going to have it next year for Essex, Greater Essex Mayor and other local elections as well. If anyone is thinking, we'll vote reform and we'll get change, just look at Kent. Right, look at Kent. Kent is raising council taxes because the reform do not know what the hell they're doing. They promise things, but they do not know how anything is run. Right, they have Zia Yusuf pretending, he's a UK Doge and whatever. He has no idea how to do these things, and they're gonna screw it up even more.
Yeah, it's a big concern. I mean, that great comment from Des Barker. He says, just under 4 years to get advance as much publicity as possible. Reform done it, but were traitors to their own supporters. Ben could easily win Reform voters. Absolutely, I agree 100%. For me, I mean, my big turning point with Reform came after the general election, when they broke all the promises that were made to me pre-election. And then we had the Richard Tice, that lot comment. I think that was probably a definitive moment for a lot of people, because that really revealed what their inner thoughts of us lot, that lot, whatever you want to call us, the general working class population of the United Kingdom. And I think that was a defining moment for a lot of people. Was there a defining moment for you, Momus, in particular, where you thought, I'm done with this lot?
I was actually saying it before the election. I got a lot of slack on my podcast because people didn't like me slagging off reform. I was saying it from before that. As soon as Farage decided to come back, I was like, there we go. This is he's gonna tank it. Do not vote reform. And I was actually telling people it's better to vote Tories than vote reform. And obviously, for obvious reasons, at that time, people were emotional. People were like, all the anger was coming up. I was like, no, this guy has form. This guy has actual form. He's done that before. He's going to do it again. He's not going to change his stripes. This is going to happen, right? As much as we would have wanted him not to be a selfish cunt, but he is going to be that, right? Because that's in his nature. I'm sorry, like, if it offends people, it offends people. I don't care. He is that, and he's going to be that, right? So we don't have time. We don't have time to be kind. We don't have time to play nice as well. In a lot of circumstances, we don't have to be ungentlemanly, which he is being, but we also don't have time to give these people time. You know, Britain right now is in existential crisis, right? And it's like the native population is really, really at risk over here of losing everything. And it would be a shame to do that, because it would be a loss to the world. We do not have time for these snake oil merchants. We need real people right now who actually care about this country, actually care about the future of the country in. And I knew it from the start. When he came in, I was like, that's it. That's it. It's not gonna work. Right. So yeah, I knew it from before. I was saying it from before, but like, they just confirmed it every time they confirm, every time
Yeah.
they opened their mouth, they confirmed it. When Farage said like, oh, he doesn't care about the population decline, he doesn't care about the displacement of his own people. Richard Tice, with, like you said, with like that lot and stuff, every single time they were just confirming my suspicions.
I'm
So
just going to ask you, as a form, sorry, Richard, I'll come back to you in just a sec. There's 1,250 people watching at the moment. If you can give us an upvote, that would be great. I'd really appreciate it. Momus, as an ex-Muslim, what did you make of Nigel Farage's comments some time ago now when he said, if we alienate Islam, we will lose? What did you think he meant by that?
well, he was just being a politician, basically, right? Because he likes saying he's not a politician, he's an outsider. He's been in politics for longer than most politicians, right? He is a seasoned politician. So technically, as a politician, he was right, saying, okay, you know what, like, I'm not gonna do any radical changes or anything. I'm not gonna. That's what he's admitting, right? Because I'm not gonna do the hard job. I'm not gonna make the hard decisions. If I'm not going to do that, that means the Muslim population is going to increase in the future, and obviously they're going to be his vote or anyone's vote bank, right? So that's what he was saying. He's not going to alienate them, but he's also signaling in the same sentence that I'm not going to fix the problems that are created by Islam and by radical Muslims in this country, right? That's what he's saying. Like, he doesn't care about the people, about the native population, because you guys are not, your population is declining. So it's like, well, he's concerned about votes.
So it was an admission for you.
Yeah, it was an admission, and this admission actually has been, I think so, establishment admission by the British establishment for past 30-40 years, right? That's why you have our monarch, who is very pro-Islam. Even the Queen approved a lot of the things, a lot of the centers and stuff like that for Islam. That's why you have the Tory party, who won't go against Islam, because they know that somehow they have admitted that this is the future. Somehow some part of Islam is their future, so they have they have like bowed down to it. And this was our opportunity. Reform was our opportunity to say, no, actually we can change this. We do not want this country to be Islamic and stuff. And he comes in just 2 weeks before the election as well. This snake brought in Zia Yusuf just 2 weeks before. If he had brought in the same time that he came in, right? Because he came in right after the first Unite the Kingdom rally. If he had brought Zia Yusuf in at that time, he would have got no support.
Yeah.
No support. Just bringing him 2 seconds before the election, that was his move. That just confirmed everything about him. He's just a metropolitan liberal. He's not a conservative. He doesn't care about this country in the same way. He thinks this country, he probably cares about the country, but his idea of the country is a very liberal idea of the country.
Yeah, he's different to ours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Richard, you was going to come in with something before I interrupted you there. Go on.
Yeah, no, thanks. I just think if nobody's going to stand up really for the United Kingdom, as it is, for its culture, for its heritage, for its incredible history, then we're just going to lose ourselves completely, absolutely completely. And it was really telling, to hear, I suppose, what Farage had said, what we're talking about. And I think that he was asked, are you concerned about the rate of demographic change? And he just completely dismissed it instantly, rolled off the tongue. No, why would I be? But you won't have someone from Advance say that. We are worried about it. And there's a big difference, because what he's trying to do is he is part of the establishment, and the establishment love to put people in boxes. They love to say, right, well, that's a horrible thing to say. That's really bad. That's far right. You're far right. He's obsessed with being centralistic, if he wants to, believe and subscribe to this kind of, thought process that there's this left and there's this right. But there isn't. The United Kingdom is what we stand for. Our from Advance UK, our mission you know, our mission statements, the 4 of them, they stem from the UK. And if anyone obviously doesn't know, it stands for the nation state, democracy, freedom, and equality under the law. And all of that is principles of the United Kingdom. So we're the party. We're not left. We're not right. We stand for the United Kingdom. You'll never hear anybody say that we're not worried about the rate of demographic change. We are worried about the rate of demographic change. And another very telling thing that I found very interesting, we haven't spoke about, is you know, we mentioned Richard Thomson said, and you know, oh, that lot, you know, and a big sweeping statement, completely dismissing their entire base, that the people that voted for them at the general election. But he also said, when he was asked that question, I think Matt Goodwin had done some report a while back to suggest that by 2050, that actually the indigenous people would be in the minority. And he was asked, well, how do you feel about that? And if it doesn't sum up somebody who's completely self-serving, he just says, oh, well, I'll be long gone by then, you know, as if it doesn't matter. And you think, well, you know, if you're in politics for yourself and for your own self-advancement, then you shouldn't be there. And that's one of the reasons I came to Advance, was because, you know, I spoke to Ben, you know, sort of privately, I, you know, and had a chat with him, asked what was going on, what was he doing, where, you know, deciding whether I wanted to be involved in it. And he was quite clear that he wasn't going to lead it. He was going to set it up. He was going to bring people together, and that he would step up and be the leader if needed. But he had, you know, obviously another person in mind for that, right? And so he reluctantly stepped up to the plate to deliver. And you know, for me, that shows that really he didn't want to be doing it, right? So he's doing it from necessity. He's doing it through love of the country. He's doing it because it's a requirement that someone has to stand up, take the criticisms. And that's why, you know, when we make these criticisms of reform, but they're all just in my view. I'm not necessarily picking and saying that this is wrong. It's wrong because this is what's led me on this journey to be here now, right? My political philosophy has stayed the same. So when I hear people say, oh, you know, it's an ego party or whatever else, it's upsetting, because we need to reach these people, because they see reform as an answer, but it's run by an egotistical person that isn't wanting to listen to anyone else, that is completely, you know, disconnected and even at war in many cases with its grassroots, with patriotic, passionate people that care deeply, and he's leading them down the garden path. And what's going to happen? We've already had about 20 million people that didn't bother to go and vote the last general election. Once they drop the ball, and I don't think in 4 years' time that they'll be there, certainly not the iteration that they are now. I mean, they've already lost 2 of their MPs, gained another, you know, 2, and you know, their policies are completely going upside down. Or you know, the 2 people in charge, Nigel Farage and Yusuf, contradict each other with their policy announcements. They're gonna collapse before then. And what I'm concerned with is all the people that are in the grassroots, all the people that are raising the flags, all the people that are at the protests in Epping and around the country that care deeply about the country. They're going to be thinking, oh, you know, there's no point. They're all as bad as each other. You know, I'm so disenfranchised with all of them. But there's an actual party here that's been cancelled by the mainstream media because we don't conform to the establishment view set. And the problem is they've heard that before from another party, but really has let them down. And that's my big concern, I think, with Richard, the way that they handle things.
What you just said there, I think, is absolutely amazing. It's spot on in the respect that people say to me, oh, why are you bothering with Advance? You know, Reform are going to win the next election. And I say, no. This is what's going to happen. Reform are going to collapse. They're going to get found out at some stage. And we need a party that's coming up that people can, because I believe that most Reform voters are actually Advance voters. They just don't know it yet. They just haven't got the message yet. But once they get the message and they see the real Reform, the changeover is going to be very quick, very big, and it's going to happen, I wouldn't say overnight, but it's going to happen very, very quickly when it does happen. That's my belief.
Absolutely. I mean, the momentum already has been staggering.
It's phenomenal.
It took Reform 5.5 years, I think, to get to 30,000, and it's taken Advance 69 days, 69 days, something like that, to get to 30,000. So it's already there. It's already happening, and that's with no mainstream media. Like I said, my scribbles to the Express maybe help a little, But generally we don't get the airtime from the places you would expect. You hear all about your party and how that's going to poll and what that's going to achieve, even with them taking each other to legal action against each other and whatever else. Like, you hear about them, but you don't hear about advance, and it's a real shame. It's a real shame, especially with some of the stations that promote and say that they are for free speech. Everything else. It is a real shame, but they won't be able to ignore us for long. They really genuinely won't.
No, absolutely. I'm going to give the audience a bit of an exclusive in just a moment. I'm just going to read these out. Queen Asia is a new member. Thank you very much. Daniel Donnelly, thank you. I appreciate that. And Daniel again says, I agree. Our country first. I am so stressed about being ignored. Steve S, thank you. Doing great work, Paul and friends, thank you. And Pauline Pace, just thought I'd say Essex rules wear special. Thank you, Pauline. I'm going to agree with you on that one. Coop 777, vote for Ben Habib in advance. And Cal, hi Paul, as a football fan, news just in, Israeli fans from Tel Aviv banned from watching their team face Aston Villa due to violence fears. Thoughts?
Have you seen that? Have you seen that recently? It's ridiculous. If the police are saying they can't even what it's an admission, right? It's an admission that this is the reason why we don't deal with Muslim rape gangs. This is the reason why we don't deal with Islamic radicalism, because we actually cannot save you from them. Right.
Let me read out. Barrister Ayub Khan MP. Let me read out his statement tonight about that.
He's a dick.
I welcome the Safety Advisory Group's decision to advise that Maccabi Tel Aviv fans will not be permitted to attend Villa Park on the 6th of November. From the moment this match was announced, it was clear that there were latent safety risks that even our capable security and police authorities would not be able to fully manage. I wonder who he's referring to.
He's the one who was threatening anyways, like his petition and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, it goes on. We have a real problem with this, like Muslim MPs.
Yeah, it goes on with so much hostility, uncertainty around the match. It was the only right decision. It was only right to take drastic measures. Sorry, the text on here is very small. Let me carry on. Sports entertainment events should be enjoyed by all, except for Jews, I guess.
Yeah.
Regardless of their race, ethnicity, and background. I mean, this guy's gaslighting us, right?
Yeah.
But there are rare instances when the political dynamics around such spectacles cannot be ignored, and where drastic action needs to be taken to ensure the safety of fans, players, staff, and local residents. I am glad that this reality has been acknowledged in this case, and I am grateful to Aston Villa FC, Maccabi Tel Aviv FC, West Midlands Police, and the Safety Advisory Group for all their work to listen to the community's concerns.
The community that is the non-English, non-British community, the occupying force on England right now. That's all that I see it.
Yeah, let me translate that into proper English for everyone listening. What that basically says is, if you allow these fans to come to Villa Park, we're going to riot.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bottom line. There's going to be violence. If you allow these fans to come into the West Midlands, there is going to be violence. And that is why the police have given in.
Paul, let's put it this way, right? If a team from Africa was coming in, right, and the black players were coming in, and if as they say, like the far right is the biggest threat in this country, right? So you would be scared, like, oh, there are going to be racist attacks against them, right? They would have the whole army over there to make sure about their safety. They would not cancel it. They would not send them back. Right. So this is not about safety. This is not about any of this bullshit about BS around, safety or whatever.
Shocking. Absolutely. I mean, look, you asked me what I thought. That's what I think. I think it's disgraceful. I'm disappointed with Aston Villa. If I was an Aston Villa supporter, I would boycott that game.
Yeah.
And I think the football fans have got a big role to play in this. Ultimately, it's time now for the football supporters to make their voices heard during games.
Yeah. Stop caring about football more than the country.
Yeah, stop worrying about your football team more than you do your children's future. Every Saturday afternoon or whenever your team plays Sundays, these days it's any day other than a Saturday, isn't it? But any of your clubs playing, you know, they cannot stop your voices from being heard within those stadiums. And when Match of the Day start cutting out commentary and cutting out this crowd noise, you really know what's going on. Football supporters out there, wake up. What's more important, your football team or your country? Coop 777, thank you. I have full trust in Ben Habib. He will make an amazing difference. He will be a fantastic Prime Minister. He absolutely would. And Lee is also a new member. Thank you very much. I'm going to give you a bit of an exclusive here, guys. We're going to talk about Tommy now. Now, I don't know how long ago it was. It was probably about 15 months ago now that I first met Ben. I met Ben in a Costa Coffee on the Fulham Road for the first time. Never met the man before. He never met me. He didn't really know much about me apart from the fact that I had a YouTube channel and did what I did. He agreed to meet me. I was very surprised. I met this amazing, warm, kind, caring gentleman that was prepared to listen to this working class fella from just down the road. I mean, Ben's in the wrong end of the Fulham Road. He's up by Chelsea's ground. I'm at the other end. I'm in the best bit by Fulham's ground. But anyway, we met and we had a chat and we kind of hit it off. And my ambition when I met Ben was to get him together with Tommy. It was a real long shot. I mean, a real long shot. And I mentioned Tommy to Ben and Ben said, look, you know what, Paul? I need to do my homework on him. You know, I don't know a great deal about him. You know, obviously I know what I've read, what I've heard, but I don't believe that to be true, but I need to do my due diligence. And the end result is that Tommy is now a proud member of Advance. So anyone out there that doubts either Tommy or Ben, the proof of the pudding is this. Ben went away and spent a long time doing his due diligence on the man, on Tommy. And he's happy to have him as a member of Advance UK. And the same with Tommy as well. Tommy did his homework on Ben. And we have, I think, in many respects, the perfect marriage, hopefully. I'd like to ask your views. First of all, we'll go with you, Richard, first. What is your view on Tommy being allowed to join Advance? And do you think he will be an asset to the party and potentially even maybe a candidate as for Parliament one day?
I think he's already an absolute asset, you know, for the party. You know, I was made up when he decided that he found his political home with Advance. You know, what an incredible endorsement. I mean, to be honest, I mean, I hadn't done, you know, homework on Tommy until maybe a year ago or so, like that. But you know, the work that he'd done in highlighting it, I mean, he's been consistently on this issue for what, 13, 14, 15 years or something.
Incredible,
like that.
And when he started, he was such a young man as well.
Yeah. And fearless, you know, and that's what we need with Advance. We need fearless people that are willing to stand up, because you stand up and you take a principled stand, you will get, you know, the flack coming in at you, and he's had that. He's getting that now. In fact, you know, having to wait till the 4th of November on terrorism charges. And I saw the video that he was saying the police were even saying to him, "Oh, look, you know, we know you're not a terrorist, Tommy, but you know, we have to, you know, go through, you know, your phone. We have to do this." Why do they have to? It's quite clearly an abuse of the legislation that's been put in place, you know, and it's not being used for its intended purpose. So we need people like Tommy, because they're a threat to the establishment. They're calling things out that need to be called out, and they're a trailblazer, you know. So absolutely, I think that he would be good, because another thing that we need, you know, for good people to stand isn't lawyers and you know, people that have studied politics in university. We need genuine people. More than genuine people. You need people that are self-motivated and fearless enough, courageous enough to sort of, you know, stand up and shake this establishment, and to you know, completely cull and, you know, root and branch and drain the swamp, whatever, you know, you want to call it, whatever you want to say. But that's what we need. We need those people. So absolutely all for, you know, Tommy having, you know, his political home with Advance, and whatever political aspirations he may have in the future. You know, if I was to see him, I would be encouraging him to do that. Could you imagine that the look on is it Daisy Cooper, if Tommy takes to the green benches?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Don't, because you're making the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Can you imagine them all holding their nose as he walks in the house and completely takes it over?
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be great.
He's got a bigger presence than the whole lot of them put together. Momus, I tell you, Momus, here's another thing, right? Is that, you know, I always see my job as to try and look after my friends, you know, and I wanted to put Tommy and Ben together. Desperately wanted to do that. But at the same time, I also wanted to protect Ben. And when Ben was sort of ready to, when Ben had done his due diligence and he was ready to back Tommy, I said, Ben, you do know what this is going to mean, don't you?
Mm.
You know, you do know the reaction. And he said, Paul, I don't care. I've done what I need to do. This is a man that's worth supporting, and I'm going to support him. And, you know, that was music to my ears, because it meant that he really had done his research. He'd come to the right conclusion. And here we have two men that, for me, it's a match made in heaven, hopefully. And certainly for the population, the people of this country. I keep calling it the People's Party, because to me, that's exactly what it is. It's for everyone. Everyone that has a red, white and blue heart, that cares about their children, their children's future. Advance UK is for them. Talking about that, you can join Advance this evening whilst the show's on, if you like. The website is running across the ticker at the bottom of the screen. We have about just under 1,500 people watching this evening, which is not too bad for a Thursday evening. And I hope that every single one of you, by the end of this show, will be a member of Advance UK, and will take us that little step closer to taking our country back and winning it back properly, the right way. Momus, your views on Tommy joining Advance?
Well, yeah, I mean, it is brilliant actually, because I was sort of on the fence about Advance, right? Because when it started straight away, I was of the opinion, oh no, we don't need another small party, another party. Like, oh, what the hell? Like, let's just try to fix the Tories, and hopefully by 2034, 2029 is a gone case. By 2034, we might have some sensible Tories in Parliament and stuff, right? But then I like, you know, there were a lot of people within the Advanced UK GB pack and stuff who were trying to convince me. I went on their live stream and X, and I was like, I was positive. I was quietly positive, just keeping to myself, you know. And then when I was going to say, okay, I'm joining Advance now, I saw the video on Twitter, Tommy saying, oh, he's part of Advance. I was like, God damn it, you beat me to it. but yeah, I mean, I was happy, because it's not just like, because people need to also understand Tommy Robinson is a movement, right? It's not a person anymore, right? So allowing Tommy Robinson to join a political party means that you're allowing the real voice of the people to come through. You're not discarding the people anymore of this country. They have a home. People who might have made bad choices in their life because of circumstances created by dickheads like in Tories and Labour, right? The people who haven't had the opportunity, people who have been left behind, they had to fend off for themselves in these godforsaken communities where it's run by criminals and people who are, you know, bad people, basically, right? Those people have a home now. It doesn't matter if you have made a mistake or something. You are being given second chance to redeem yourself. That itself is actually a Christian philosophy, right? Not just discarding the people, giving them an opportunity to rise to the occasion, right? And that is what it means for me. I don't care whether people agree with Tommy Robinson, all his policies, everything that he says or not. You know, some people find him extreme. In many cases, I'm actually more extreme than Tommy Robinson when it comes to Islam, which people don't even realize that. but they call him racist. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is what is his name representing, what is him being allowed there being representing. And if he stands, if he but I don't want to, as a friend, I don't want to pressure him, right? I want him to do what he feels is the right thing for him to do as well. By the end of the day, that guy has given enough already, right?
Yeah.
Standing in parliament, standing for a candidate would mean even more. Like, it could mean even more for him. He's already affecting British politics while not even standing as a candidate, right? I would love for him to stand as candidate and win, just to see the people's faces, like Richard said, like just for that, I would just
Yeah.
love for that, and it would give him more protection as well, because it will give him official protection, right? So it would be good for him, and it would be good for the country. It would also show the people, many people who are like him, right, or who have had his life or similar life as him, that they could actually as well stand in parliament. There's no restriction for them. There's no snobbery anymore. There's no there's no gatekeeping, because that's what's happening. Even with Farage, like, he just comes in with a pint in his hand, with his cigar in his mouth, showing, oh yeah, I'm one of you people, going in Clacton and stuff, and just drinking a pint. But it's not, that's such a show. That's not him. Tommy Robinson is the real deal. Like, he's the actual people's people, right? So that's why people love him. So yeah, I mean, for me, it represents something a lot more than the person.
Funny you say
being
that.
allowed in the party.
Yeah, Momus, it's funny you said that. I said in the video that I released this afternoon that, what Daisy Cooper, how she's misread the situation. She called Tommy Robinson, what was it, a vile racist or whatever she called him, etc. And, I said in my video, she doesn't understand that Tommy Robinson is the movement now.
Yeah.
She's referring to every single one of us.
But they do. But they do. Paul. The thing is, they do actually mean they also understand it's not just Tommy Robinson. They do mean all the people, right? I've met with these people behind doors and stuff, people like her, right? And these people who have gone to universities, who these snobs, these labor snobs and stuff, who try to say, oh, they're for the working class and sort of people. They look down on people who haven't had a university degree, right? And they expect someone like me as well, who has had double masters and stuff like that, to do that as well. But I obviously won't, because I'm not an idiot, right? But this is how they expect people to. This is what they think of them. They think, oh, they're stupid people. They don't know what's good for them. They're just falling for people like Tommy Robinson because they don't know better. So we have to care for them. That's why we have to have more welfare. That's why there has to be more dependency, because they can't make their own decisions. That's why we saw what we saw during COVID as well. They knew the rules were stupid. They weren't following all the rules themselves, but they were like, oh no, but these are they're treating people like children, because they don't have the education. They don't understand. The reason why they're racist and bigot and Islamophobic is because they don't have a university education from a Marxist teacher, so.
But again, it brings us back full circle to saying that's why we need people like Tommy to stand.
Exactly.
Because we have these people that are so out of touch. They have got no idea what the real world is. That's why we need to fill this chamber with people from the real world to understand the real world consequences for their stupid decisions.
Very interesting, very interesting comment here. Let me just read this for a moment. Sue, thank you very much. I went to court to support Tommy. See the photo. Thank you very much. So, interesting one from Neil Lewis. Neil says, love to you all. Don't split the vote. Nigel needs everyone's support. If he does wrong, we will all hold him to account. Neil, cannot
just vote for Labour. Just vote for Labour. Be done with it. Don't split the vote, Neil. Vote for Labour.
Neil, you cannot get rid of Nigel Farage. Reform is Nigel Farage.
Yeah,
and that's the whole point.
I was going to say that this is a big, I suppose what people say, right? Reform is the party that's here, so let's vote for it. Let's not split the vote and things like that. Well, obviously, there's no splitting
vote to
the vote,
split.
right? Nobody is entitled to anyone's vote. We set out our stall, we say who we are, what we're about. We're actually the only party that's pro-United Kingdom. And as we went through earlier with criticisms that we don't necessarily need to go over again, we've said our piece with all of that. It's very important. But to say that a lot of things I'm hearing is right. Okay, well, vote for reform, and if they drop the ball, if they do badly, then we'll hold them to account. Or it's not about reform or Nigel or who it is now. It's what comes after. Why don't we skip that bit? Why don't we just skip that bit, right? We already know the biggest thing that I'm hearing at the moment from people locally that I know that was the grassroots, the lifeblood of the movement that I was part of before I left it. They're the ones that will say, right, we need to sort of it'd be what comes next and things like that. But we know what's coming, right? So we know what's coming. We know what they're about. We can see the backtracking on things. We can see the discontent they've got for their own grassroots. We see what's happening. Let's aim higher. Let's do things differently for once, because reform was supposed to be what the difference was, but we can see it's not different. So let's do something different once, rather than aiming down and saying, well, it's the best of the bad bunch. Let's fresh slate with everything. There is no vote split. Forget the polls. Look at each party. Look at the way they behave, the way they conduct themselves. Look at the policies when they come out. Look at the individuals with their integrity. We just spoke about Ben doing his due diligence on Tommy. The only politician with integrity to actually endorse Tommy and to speak to him because he was a political prisoner, the way he was treated, what he was done, and go and speak to the people directly in London on the 13th. Nobody else has done that, right? Let's start looking at people's actions, because that is very telling when you're looking at their actions. Forget their words, put the TV on mute and just, look at what they're doing. Who are they speaking with? What are they, how are they conducting themselves? What policies are they putting out now? Advance will start putting out policies very soon. And it'd be very interesting to hear the conversation that I had then. So I don't like this argument where people say we will hold him to account. You're not going to hold him to account. He'll probably get in for a little bit, then he'll hand over to Zia Yusuf. It's probably what will happen.
You can't even hold him to account now. You can't even hold him to account now. Like everything that he's saying is against it, right? He's against mass deportation. It won't happen. He's saying it now. He's saying it now just after the United Kingdom rally because he wants to support, right? He hasn't said anything about the Christian values or culture or anything like that. He probably never gone to church or whatever, but he's never said that. But then again, just after the United Kingdom rally, because it was a whole thing, he got the Christian MP from Tory into his party just as a show, right? Everything he does is just as a show to get into power. There is no plan over there. So if we think, oh, he's our hope, he's not our hope, because he won't be able to do anything. The amount of liberals that he has in his party now, he won't be able to put the policies needed in his manifesto. If he doesn't do it in his manifesto, then everything that he puts out, the House of Lords is gonna kick it out, and then he's gonna say, for 5 years, he's going to say, see, I'm fighting for you, but the House of Lords, these bad people, they're not letting me do it, right? He's going to play that shtick. He's been playing it against the EU. He's been playing it during the whole Brexit thing. He's been playing it as UKIP, as Reform, like Brexit Party Reform, and he's going to do it when Reform is in power. He always is going to create a bigger opponent, so that intentionally not go after them, so that he can just point out to them, like, and just play the underdog every single time. It's such a
100%.
such a lazy tactic. Like, it's such a known pattern with him. So no, like, it's not splitting the votes. This is not America. We don't have red and blue. We have different parties for a reason. Vote for what you believe in. Support what you for what you believe in. It won't split the vote. He has about 200,000 or whatever, 100,000. There's millions of people in this country, right? He has 200. Even if he has 500,000 members, there's millions of people in this country, right? There's 45 million adults in Britain or plus. So I'm sorry, but like, the voting from 18 onwards, people, whatever, 45, 50 million people who can vote, I think. So what are we even talking about? Like, right, Richard said before, 20 or so million people didn't even vote in the last elections. 22 million people. So he doesn't have like, what are we splitting? We're not splitting the vote. We're actually asking for people for once, vote what you believe in, become the solution
And for the
and
people
stop.
that you believe in. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, vote for what you believe in.
Neil's come back. Thank you, Neil. I appreciate the contribution. He says, well, may the good Lord help you, Paul. Negative people always find the problem in the solution, Paul. Look, Neil, I supported reform. I supported Nigel Farage. So I'm afraid he let me and many of my friends and campaigners and grassroots people, he let them down. And I saw everything I needed to see. It's as simple as that. We're going to bring it to an end fairly soon, guys. I've got a question for both of you. I'll go to you first, Momus. We've seen there's been a definite shift with Tommy over the last 12 months, 18 months. There's been a big shift, and his perception, not only amongst the general population, but also, I believe, amongst politicians and people that before would have held their nose before mentioning his name. Who, in your opinion, is going to be the first, what should we say, the first Tory or the first, I don't know, who's going to be the first member of the House that's going to break away from the rest and stand up for Tommy, or at least defend him in some respects? I mean, somebody said the other day, Robert Jenrick's on the verge.
I think so. If he's smart, he's playing it right now. He shouldn't do it right now, Robert Jenrick. He's going to do it closer, probably, to the Tory leadership, which is going to come next year, if not sooner, because Kemi is hopeless. But Robert Jenrick is building his case. So I think so. It might be a calculation for him as well. At that point, would he want to risk it, or would he want to wait after he's got the Tory leadership, and then he will support? He won't support him, but he will say things in favorably.
He'll want his votes, won't he?
Not negatively. He'll give him a nod or something of that sort and stuff, and sort of say, like, because he knows that, and any intelligent, there aren't that many, but any intelligent Tory members and MPs would know that they need to rebuild their party, and they need to rebuild their party around, not around the Liberals and the Labour supporters, but what Reform is trying to do, but actually around the Conservative. And Reform has actually helped them in this way, right? Because Reform, rather than taking the advantage of the Conservative voters, they've actually gone hard for the Liberals and the Liberal Democrat voters and those sort of people, right? So they have left the floor open for the actual Conservatives. That's why they're coming into advance. So if Tories have a mind, then they would install Robert Jenrick as soon as possible and go after the Conservatives that the Tories have lost and we haven't gained yet. So it would be a game to see. But I think so. Whoever assumes the leadership position is the one who's going to come in favor of Tommy.
Just before I go to Richard on that one, just going back to Neil's question. I mean, Neil, when you said if it goes wrong, we will hold him to account, that is not possible with Nigel. But that is why people like myself and Richard are on the College of Advanced UK, and Ben wanted that college put together so that people like myself and Richard, we can hold Ben to account. That is what the party is all about, right, Richard?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole point of the college is to make it so that it isn't about one person, one person holding all the power, making all the decisions. It's a collective people from all different walks of life, all different backgrounds, you name it, everything. And it's a collective effort to drive policy, to drive the direction, keeping true to our mission, keeping true, making sure the leadership is on point with all of it. So, it's a step to remove power from the leader is what the college is about, and to delegate those responsibilities, to make it bigger than one person, to make it stand the test of time. It allows people to also grow within that, to find their feet with things, which is obviously, something that I'm learning as I'm doing. It's how it should be, because you need to have a structure in place that's going to allow people to come through, to develop, to grow. We're watching the old parties die, and it's going to be replaced by, you know, a party that's just one man standing on top of the shoulders of everyone that's put in there, and he's not letting anyone come up. You know, it's not the way it's going to work. And if Neil, if your prediction comes true with Nigel, being in power in 2029, then it's going to be Nigel as the PM, as the Chancellor, as the Defence Minister, as the Transport Minister, as the Housing Secretary, as the Health Minister, and it's just going to be an absolute disaster, and we will not be able to hold him to account.
Absolutely. And your response to the question on about Tommy?
I disagree with Momus. If I had to pick anybody, I would say Jenrick, but he will not get the support from the parliamentary party in the leadership race if he supports Tommy or endorses him in any way. He may be positioning himself to look soft on it. I just find it really upsetting that we're talking about whether people should endorse someone. I would prefer people to have their integrity and make the decision, and whether you agree or disagree with them.
Great response.
And we don't have that, and that's what's sad.
Yeah, great answer. Great answer. Right, before we wrap up, guys, really enjoyed that one tonight. Let me just go back to Essex for a moment for everyone watching. I mean, you guys can talk about it amongst yourselves for the next couple of minutes while I think about wrapping up. The main topic of the evening really was what you guys are up to in Essex. Just remind our viewers once again, and tell them how they can get involved, maybe.
Yeah, we're going to launch our Kingdom of Essex platform pretty soon. It's going to be a Substack initially. We'll give it out to people. It will be kingdomofessex.com. Hopefully, if nobody has taken that domain name before, I've said it before, securing the domain name, but hopefully we can get kingdomofessex.com up and going, and people would be able to join that. We would hope that people become paid members so that we can help organize events and stuff within Essex, help other candidates. We want to do a lot of live events, and we want to do a lot of people coming together sort of events, right? Like getting people together of a community, and along with the candidate as well, so that they get to know the candidates personally a bit, and hear them speak and put up their questions as well, so we can keep on gathering. The next 4 years we spend from each area, we keep on gathering questions and comments from people, and we make a whole list of the problems of the people, anonymously if they want to, just so that when our candidates do come in power, they come in power with a whole list of things that the people in this area in the areas. Yeah, exactly. So Kingdom of Essex is coming soon. Look out for it. Join Advance UK as well. Become a member. Make it a big force. Ben wants 1 million members. Let's make it a 5 million members. Why not? Just join up. Tell everyone to join up. It's not that much. It's a tenner. You spend that much more on a weekend. Like, seriously, you can give up drinks for one weekend and just join Advance UK.
Even you, Neil, come on, join. Come on, be a part of the family, Neil. Join. Richard, did you want to have a last say on the Essex thing? We've got a couple more questions to go through, but if you've got anything to add on the Essex subject.
Yeah, I do. I think, to not go over too much of what Momus had just said, it's a celebration of Essex, really. Obviously, there'll be a political, side to it, because a lot of the issues that we've got are going to be politically charged. I mean, we talked about Epping, the Bell Hotel in Epping. We've got the Wethersfield Air Base. We've got an absentee MP in a seaside town as well. There's a lot of issues and people without a voice. So it's going to be a platform, not just for me and Momus to talk about Essex and talk about politics, but it's a platform for everyone within Essex. And we're going to be all encompassing and fair as we can on the platform as well, because it's a home for everybody that has something to say, not just the stuff that we want to talk about. And that's really what means a lot to us. There'll be insights as well hopefully from different guests from the different political spectrum to talk about their perspectives as well. So it's going to be like I said, a celebration of Essex. We're going around to different places, looking at the history of it as well as talking about current political events.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Sweaty Go Forth. And another one there, it says, would Restore Britain and the GB Pack join forces? They have very similar aims and it might bring Mr. Lowe into the fold. Look, my own view on that, I've made it clear before. I like Rupert. I feel he has a home. He just hasn't come home yet. But at the end of the day, I'm backing Ben 100% because I believe that Ben is in this for all the right reasons and for all the people for his country. I'm disappointed that Rupert hasn't joined us. I'm going to be honest with you and say that. That's just my own personal view. That's not talking on behalf of the party. That's my own view. Richard, I don't know if you want to add anything to that. It's entirely your choice.
Yeah, no, I mean, Rupert has obviously made his, thoughts clear on the subject, and he's gone and decided to start his movement, Restore Britain. I think that they're doing, a lot of really good work, with things, with the way that he's getting cross-party support, getting people, to talk to each other. I mean, he signed a Green Amendment motion, the other day, which I thought was quite good because it was something he agreed with. We need to have people that are, I suppose, cutting down those barriers and blazing a trail to get other parties to sort of, have each other's support for things that are right. I would have preferred to have seen him join, but to be honest with you, I made my, thoughts quite clear that I thought Ben was the man, to lead it, from the things that I've seen personally behind closed doors that other people haven't seen. To know him and his character and his integrity, I thought that was the right thing to do. I understood his decision making for wanting Rupert to actually lead the party initially, but I think the way that it's worked out the way that it has. There's 4 years ago, I think we was, in the middle of the third lockdown. We had the Queen, we had Boris Johnson, God help us, as Prime Minister. A lot happens in 4 years. In 4 years' time, maybe there'll be some sort of, reconcile and he'll be part of it. But for me, Ben was the right choice, and I'm glad that things have worked out the way that they are. And we've already had that endorsement from the people, where we got over that 30,000, self-imposed hurdle, in record-breaking time. So, for me, maybe he'll come across. I think he probably will.
Yeah, Ben was the man all along for me. Right, guys, thank you so much. It's been a really interesting chat. A couple of fabulous guests. I don't know how I'm going to keep up with that. I mean, you're going to take some beating, you two, tonight. You've been absolutely brilliant. Thanks so much, Richard. I'd love to have you back on. Momus, you will definitely be back on, obviously, at some stage. And when I finally get back to the UK, we'll have to catch up and have a bit of dinner somewhere together. That would be nice. Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Really enjoyed it, and have a lovely evening. Have a lovely weekend. We will be back soon. Take care of yourselves, and as always, take care of those beautiful children. We'll see you soon, everyone.